What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Reformed Reader, the channel where we review different forms of media through the lens of a Christian who is under the authority of the scriptures. My name is Josh, and today I'm going to go over 5 reasons why I keep DNFing books. Now, this has been a question that many of you have asked. Why do you keep DNFing books? Why do you keep putting them down? What do you think the reason is? And I think I've narrowed it down to 5 individual reasons, and I just want to kind of go over them with you guys and maybe just have an open dialogue with you guys. And please feel free if you have questions or even resistance or opposition to what I'm saying, let me know down in the comment section below. So let's start with the first reason, which is that I've already read a lot of the more popular book series. So I think this is a much larger part of why I keep DNFing books than others. I've been reading now for about 5, maybe 6 years as far as actively reading. And while that's not really that long of a time, it has given me enough time to pick up a lot of the big sci-fi and fantasy series. And so I've read through quite a few of the more popular ones. Like I've read Lycanius. I've read pretty much everything Brandon Sanderson has ever come out with. I've read Name of the Wind. I've read Dune. I've read a lot of the Star Wars books. I've read Bound and the Broken. I've read, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Narnia. Yeah, I've read a lot of these more popular series. If you put in top 10 fantasy series and top 10 science fiction series, I've probably read the vast majority of those on the list. And for good reason, because when I started out, I'm like, I like this kind of stuff, but I don't know what to read. And so that's what I did. I looked up these book series and I picked them up and I read through them. Some of them I really liked and some of them I didn't. But what that leads to is that now I have all of these other series that aren't as popular. They might still be popular, but they aren't as popular as far as like book sales and that kind of thing, or maybe even that popular on YouTube or Instagram. And so what I'm left with is not the dregs. I don't want it to seem like that. But what I'm left with is these other series that people don't talk about as much. And so because they don't talk about them as much, number one, I don't really know if I'm going to jive with it. But the second reason is because I try to do some homework before picking up a book series. And so if I'm trying to see if there's any type of content in there that might keep me from picking up a book series, I try to do some Google searches, some Goodreads reviews, that kind of thing. And a lot of times I find things in there that I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to stay away from this for now. But then ultimately, like, I can't tell you how many times I've done that with numerous Blake Crouch books, with several, with Dresden, with Monster Hunter, there's just numerous books, even Name of the Wind, and people are like, don't read this because it's hedonistic in nature, it's wicked, it's vile, it promotes this kind of stuff. I may listen to that counsel for quite a while, but then eventually I'm like, maybe I need to find out for myself. And sometimes I find out that they were right. Sometimes I find out, hey, I shouldn't have read this. Next time I'll listen. But then there's been times where I've seen reviews and those types of things where it's been completely wrong. That might be a video for another day. But because I've read the more popular series, now I'm left with the not as popular series. And so because of that, I'm having to try to traverse through what could be good or bad. I'm having to try things out. So I equated it to people's tastes with food. I know that I love cheeseburgers and pizza and Chinese food or whatever. So because I know that I love those things, I could do a couple of things. I could just stick to what I know and love and only eat that. Or I could try out some of these other things and see if I like more things. If you guys have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I want chicken fingers and French fries from every single place that we go to.
Well, have you ever had this?
I don't like that.
How do you know that you don't like that?
I don't know. I just won't.
Have you ever had it?
No.
Well, then you don't know that you don't like it, right? And so thankfully, my kids are not picky eaters, and it's because we forced them to eat things that they were unsure about. But now they like a lot more things. And that's sort of how I am with my reading. I want to sample things to see if I like them, because I very well may. I never would have known that I liked sushi if I had not tried it first. And sometimes things are an acquired taste. And this translates kind of one for one with books as well. You might be reading books and not really knowing what I do or don't like. And so I'm just kind of basing it off of the recommendations of people on YouTube. It's what I did. I found Mike and started going through his channel. I'm like, I'm going to try this because he talks about how much he loves that book. I picked up Boy's Life and loved it. And then I did the same thing. I picked up Dark Tower and hated it. So there's, I've found that I have to sample things to see what I do and don't like. And so since I know the things that I absolutely do love, and these are the things that I know that I'm gonna find in books like Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, or the Stone and Sky series, or even some of these sci-fi books like Down Below Beyond, I know I'm going to love that book. So instead of just reaching for things that I know that I'm going to love, instead of just ordering chicken fingers and French fries every time, maybe I go in and I want to try something else. And so that's been part of it, is that when I reach for something and try something new, I may find out that I'm not as crazy about it. And so that's kind of where I am with my reading right now, because I'm 5 or 6 years into it. I kind of have that liberty to and experience to know what I do like, to now I can start sampling things. And if I get to where I've sampled 3 or 4 different things and I haven't liked any of them, I'll go back to something that I know that I'll love. The second reason why I think I keep DNFing books is the cultural shift. I mean, we can't not talk about it. There's just a shift in culture today, and I would say American culture, but really we're behind as far as like Europe goes. And some people say behind like it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think we are more conservative as far as not just opening up the floodgates to every way of thinking. I've got a mentor of mine that actually says, try to be open-minded, but don't be so open-minded that your brain falls out. And so I think that is what has kind of occurred quite a bit in Europe as far as like the liberal Christian church or liberal Christian ideas kind of come from. And so because we've had this cultural shift towards inclusive everything and everybody's way of thinking is true and everybody has their own truth, that nobody now knows what truth actually is. And I'm not trying to get into a political tirade or anything like that, but because we have seen this cultural shift, that cultural shift has seeped into the books that we read. Authors are going to write about topics that are current oftentimes, and they may just allude to these things, but because of that, these things are being steeped into more of the modern type work, which means I'm less prone to pick up the more modern work, because a lot of times I assume it's already in there, especially when it's coming from some of the big publishers. So the cultural shift has definitely led to me DNFing more books, because I think that there are more people that buy into these types of ideas and ways of thinking because they think it may be profitable or maybe it is popular. And so because of that, they may see worldly success with their books, but also because of that, they have to understand that the consequence could be that they lose readers like me. The third reason why I think I keep DNFing books is my age. As silly as that may sound, I really think it plays a part. I'm 35 years old now, and my tastes have changed. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but my tastes have just changed at being 35. There are certain things that hit me different now than they did when I was a kid. I remember reading The Legend of Luke by Brian Jacques. It's one of the Redwall books, and it just touched me in such a way that a book never had. And I went back and reread it with my son, and while I still love the book, it wasn't the same. And it's not because the book changed, obviously, it's because I have changed. And so because of that, my tastes have changed, and they continue to, and I hope they will continue to. I mentioned this before. There's books on my shelf that I'm sure I'll probably have to get rid of later down the road. And I hope that's the case, because it means that my convictions towards sin is increasing and I'm not numbing those convictions. So I definitely think my age has played a part, because I find myself leaning less towards the books with the flashy covers or with the biggest dragon or with the coolest sword or the best fight scenes. And I really have been starting to look for the books that have the most character development, or the books that have the father-son relationship. The dad stuff hits me in such a way that I become a giant baby when I read these kinds of books. For those of you that have read Boy's Life, my friend James, who just finished it, which I'm so glad you enjoyed it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When I read Boy's Life, it broke me in a way, in a good way. It broke me, and I thanked Robert McCammon for it. But if I would have read that when I was 20 years old, I mean, it just wouldn't have had the same emotional impact on me. And so, because of my age and maturing and my taste changing, then I realized that I have continued to reach for books that maybe I would have 10, 15 years ago, and have found myself not being as interested as I was before. So again, because of that, I'm having to sample other books, or look for books that contain different themes. So I think my age has played a part into me DNFing books so frequently. And the fourth reason why I think I keep DNFing books, especially recently, is because of my own personal convictions. They have increased. I am a far more studious and faithful member of my local church than I've ever been, and I'm still really lacking. And I really am trying to work on that. Is like, I'm trying to be more studied, more well-versed, more devout, and not as a works-based thing, but out of the gratitude that the Lord has shown me by his grace. And so because of the immense grace that he shows me, and the more that I realize how much grace is given to me, I realize how sinful I truly am. And so because of that, it has made my convictions so much stronger, because I want everything that I do to please and honor the Lord, everything. And I fail miserably at it. But there are things where I have drawn a proverbial line in the sand and say that, as for me and my house, we will not entertain certain things. And so we are going to inconvenience ourselves and not have, for our house, we don't watch Disney Plus. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you that if you have Disney Plus that you're not a Christian, or that you're a bad Christian, or anything like that. It's just for us. We were big Disney people. My wife and I went to Disney World for our honeymoon, and we had a great time. But we were such big Disney people that when that cultural shift started to happen, we realized probably around like 2018, I think Moana was the newest Disney movie that we watched, that around that time we just had to, our last visit to Disney World was very much LGBT focused by Disney. And so because of that, I was like, okay, I think this is probably gonna be the last time we're gonna be able to come here unless something changes. And so it's been very difficult for us not to repurchase Disney Plus, or to go see the newest movie or whatever. But I know it's been for our edification. I know that while it might seem like we're missing out as a family on being entertained by this certain movie, we also realize that it's meaningless, and that while you may not agree with our approach or whatever, and that's perfectly fine, we are actively, my house is actively trying to seek the Lord in all that we do, and we're trying to honor him. And so for us, there's just certain measures we've had to take, and one of those is not reading certain books and book series, and not watching certain TV shows and movies, and not playing certain games and those kinds of things, or even not being around or not being around certain places. I go to far less concerts now than I've ever done. And again, that very well could be due to my age. My personal convictions have just increased over time. And so because it is more of my desire to please the Lord than ever before, it is also more of my desire to hate sin just as much as he does. And not saying that like I'm going to hate these people. No. It's to hate the sin that I commit. I want to hate it. I want to see it for what it is. And I want to purge it from my life through the work of the Holy Spirit. And the last reason number 5, why I think I keep DNFing books, is this channel. Things are different when you're talking about books in the public square. So, I can talk to my friends, my Christian brothers and sisters, all day long about the books that I love. And there are things that I can read and be entertained by within the confines of my home in secret, and not feel as convicted, because it's not like, it's not like I'm trying to get somebody else to read this. But then at the same time, it definitely seems like that being in the public square, putting my ideas out there on YouTube, talking to you guys, it changes things. I have changed my own reading dynamic by deciding to go public with these things. And so I use this as an example quite frequently. But when I read Red Rising for the first time, and I absolutely loved that book, my pastor's wife came up to me after church one Sunday, and she was like, "Hey, I picked up that book that you recommended." And I was sitting there thinking, "What book did I recommend to you?" And she goes, "No, on your YouTube channel, I picked up Red Rising." Immediately, I just experienced terror. I was like, because two reasons. Okay. Number one, I think it's awesome that my pastor's wife would love Red Rising because I described it as Gladiator in space. And she was like, yeah, sign me up. And then the second reason is because I was sitting there mortified thinking, you watch my videos? And then I realized very quickly, I'm like, oh no, oh no, my pastor's wife watches my YouTube videos. What have I said? Because I'm sure it's been pure lunacy, and I've probably said something not just in error, but something that I probably need to repent of. And so I'm like, oh no, what has she seen or heard me say, And then not only that, but there's a record of it, so they can go back and watch it over and over again. And so this channel has shifted the way that I read to a degree, because yes, I represent Christ, and yes, I represent myself and my home and my church, but at the same time, I am now representing these things in a very public way. And so I have deliberately put myself under the scrutiny or under the gaze of those around me, or those in this case on YouTube. So now everybody gets to peer into the window of my house, which is my reading journey. They get to peer in, and then they get to make judgments based off of that. And so I am trying to represent not only myself and my church well, but also the Lord. And I am doing a miserable job of it. And I don't say that to try to, with like false humility. I'm not trying to get you guys to go, oh no, you're doing a great job. It's like, no, I know how sinful I am. I know how skewed my view is on things, and how lenient I am with my own preferences and biases. So because of that, I'm trying to be even more objective than I otherwise would have been. So this channel has definitely shifted the way that I read, and shifted some of the books that I will read. Now, there's some books that I read that are not for everybody, and I haven't recommended them, and I probably won't do a review for them, because I'm just like, you know what, this book almost nobody else is going to like. And it's not like I'm going, ooh, I don't want people to know that I've read this book. It's not that. It's just that, I know this isn't going to be for everybody, and this may cause more people to think a certain way about me. Maybe not negatively, but just differently, if they know that I like to read this book or that book. And I've brought that upon myself. So I understand that, right? I have brought that upon myself by saying, I'm going to be on YouTube and put these videos out about books. So this channel has definitely shifted not just what I read, but how I read, how frequently I read, and then also how intense my own scrutiny is towards the work. So guys, those are the 5 reasons why I think I keep DNFing books. And I think you're going to see a bit of a shift here. I think I'm going to, for a little while, for the time being, I'm going to quit reaching for just a little bit of everything. I'm going to quit sampling as much. And I'm going to lean back into, my bread and butter, the things that I know that I like, for just a little while before I reach back out, just for my own sanity and tastes and preferences. So yeah, it's been an interesting year so far. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging on and hanging out with me, and dealing with me while I'm constantly DNFing your favorite series. So yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much for your grace, for your patience, and for your support. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.